The sky oceans of Namara are filled with all kinds of monsters and reprobates. But perhaps the most notorious killer of this generation is Scheherazade, the Beard Cutter. She is a dread driver, a hunter who has slain a dread behemoth, a monster powerful enough to level an entire city on its own, and turned its flesh into a living suit of armor. Her strength is extraordinary even for someone of her status, and she travels the clouds in search of worthy men to slaughter. Despite not being even 20 years old, she has already butchered dozens, if not hundreds of men. She earned her moniker after having slain Palebeard, Redbeard, Longbeard, Blackbeard, and many other legends of Namara, and collected their heads. But this lifestyle has a price, and her body is already covered in scars from head to toe. In many ways, she is the polar opposite of the Lamb, not just in terms of appearance, body count, and personality, but also in her fundamental approach to driving. Where Scheherazade relies on her ego, the Lamb relies on instinct. She is the blunt instrument, while he is the surgeon's scalpel. Scheherazade's strategy, if it can even be called that, is to charge right at her target, and either run them through with her spear or beat them to death with her bare hands. If she lacks the raw strength to do this, she simply loses. She knows she can change her beast engine's shape to fit her needs, to use its wide suite of abilities to her advantage, but the thought of actually doing it never makes it into a thick skull. The Lamb doesn't have a snowflake's chance in hell of beating her in a slugging match, but he doesn't have to. His beast engine bobs, weaves, quivers, transforms, constantly shapeshifting as a battle progresses. He relies on a mental library full of different body shapes, both natural and unnatural, and changes between them at will. All hunters fall somewhere on the scale between these two extremes. Naturally, the vast majority are somewhere in the middle. Hunters such as Capria, Arcadius, and Oleus are neither terrible nor exceptional. Furthermore, Imbeolers tend to have high ego, while Channelers and Bonders are more likely to have high instinct. Hunters with high ego are aggressive, dominant, boisterous, but tend to lack refinement and mental flexibility. Most importantly, they can bend bigger, more powerful beast engines to their will, but get less mileage out of them. At its core, ego is the measure of your soul's firmness, your ability to dominate the will of others and not be dominated in return. A soul can change over the course of their life, but most notably, amputations will violently change the makeup of the soul, inherently reduce a person's ego and increase their instinct. On the flip side, mental scars will often raise a victim's ego. People with high instinct lack that dominating personality, but are much more adaptable. They are relegated to using weaker beast engines which offer much less raw power, but have vastly more fine control over them in exchange. Instinct is the measure of a soul's flexibility, the ability to lose yourself in the essence of another. High ego is a winner's personality. These types, at least the successful ones, live bombastic lives of pure excess. But these violent delights have violent ends. These men either die young, or are forced to mellow out or even retire after suffering enough crippling injuries for the shape of their soul to change, and their ego with it. Pure instinct is thus, in a way, the losing man's game. Like the Lamb, these drivers are low profile, unexciting, relying on safe maneuvers and strong fundamentals rather than flashy moves and brute force. This, however, does not make them any less dangerous. The wise know to fear an old man in a young man's game. The most rare of all are men who excel in both ego and instinct. These are the most unheard of. They are either hand-picked avatars of the gods, burdened with blessings as heavy as the very sky, or freaks of nature, with souls so misshapen they are barely even human anymore.